Okay, so I'm just going to make this a quick one. I want to talk about profanities in language, in communication. Um, the reason I want to touch on this is because there is an interesting phenomenon that there is a certain type of judgment about the use of profanities. And by profanities or swear words, so to speak, I'm talking about, I'm not going to self censor here, I'm talking about fuck, shit, you know, bastard, bitch, etc., etc. So words that are crass, insulting, and crude. And obviously, there's ones that are a lot more childish, so to speak. Now, on the surface, the sort of consensus would be that it's that using profanities is a sign of childish dialogue, or childish is perhaps the wrong word, but limited dialogue. But I wonder about that. I wonder if there are times when profanities actually emphasize a point. And I do find it interesting that there are some people who seem to find profanities more offensive than what could be a greater issue at stake, which could be what the person is using profanities for in the first place. Now, to be clear, I don't think it's a good way to communicate. And, I have a teaching background. I would certainly never advocate it to students. That would be irresponsible, obviously. Um, but I think anyone who, for example, let's say you're hitting a hammer into a nail and you miss and you whack your hand. Now, I defy anyone to not have utterance with such an incident. Um, I really don't think that profanities are a morally bad thing in particular. It's one of the reasons why I can't get into religious dogma, because it's one of those things like religious dogma dictates that it's morally sinful and all this sort of stuff, and I just don't buy that. I think the only things that are sinful are things that actually physically hurt another person, or hurt them in a way that they don't deserve. But I'm really not that puritanical. I think there are times when if someone is angry enough, then profanities are totally understandable. I mean, yes, you can use wit, yes, you can use sort of a clever argument, but the truth is, profanities has been with us as long as we have had communication. So I don't know why they are such a taboo. I mean, I don't. I can understand the argument for people who use it with every other word, and there are people, especially in this country, who do have a very limited vocabulary and they will use profanities to say everything. I've been in the city centre in the evenings listening to drunk people or people who are binging, male and female, and it's like, they have mouths on them like a sailor, so to speak, to use the old English expression. And that is a bit pathetic when someone is using the F word for every other word. And they're not angry, it's just like they don't seem to know any other words, and that is pathetic. So I've not much respect for that. But I have no problem actually with people using profanities, if that's even the right word, when they are angry enough to vindicate the usage of it. I mean, I've been in situations where I've used the F word when I've been arguing with someone because I've been so angry at the position that they're trying to argue, which to me is indefensible. And to me, the issue there is the greater weight of the problem. Now, to prevent the profanities make a point, do they win the argument? Of course they don't. That's not the point, though. It's not about necessarily using them to win the argument. It's using them to underline how strongly you feel about something. So, saying for example, and this is pure example. I don't know. I'm opposed to blasphemy laws in country A. Now, if I say, "Oh, I think the blasphemy laws are wrong morally, tackling human rights," that just doesn't carry the same weight as these fucking blasphemy laws are a disgrace to humanity. It just doesn't carry the same weight. So the latter has more weight. I have done it a few times on cyberspace, not in a trolling sense, not about trolling individuals. It's not like that. But I have done it, and I don't really regret doing it. I think if you're a public figure, okay, some degree of responsibility is important, but I don't believe, and I suppose this ties partly into my last video, I don't believe that public figures have to be politically correct. So I will say one thing about Donald Trump. He's not politically correct. I don't think anyone could dispute that. Doesn't mean that his approach is right. It doesn't mean that he is right, but he's not politically correct. Um, I think sometimes the thing about profanities is it indicates that the person using them has limited vocabulary. That's the problem with them. But I think that sometimes it's justified and sometimes it is. It underlines a point because the thing is, we treat it as such a taboo, but if you're more offended by the F word than you are about someone being jailed for 30 years for having an opinion, then you need to get your priorities right, quite frankly. That's how I look at it. And I've been accused of political extremists of being a rude person. Now, it's, it's quite astonishing when you think about it. I'd rather be seen as a rude person than someone who stands by the indefensible.